Hey guys, this is Kirob speaking, and today we are back in 2 Leaves and a Bud Tea Garden Simulator, and this is supposed to be a pretty quick video, a bit more discussion from a developer point of view. And I've been thinking quite a bit about the UI in the game and how much this game actually is similar to automation in its, let's say, in its fundamental complexities, where it's not, of course, not quite as bad as, as automation, but it has similarities there and will face a lot of the same problems, and it definitely can't stand the test of time, I think, with trying to make it all black boxy. And it will, of course, also attract a very different audience if that is the case. But so here, what I'm going to do is to show you my little UI draft that I've been creating for just one instance in here. And that is going to show you what I mean by different UI layout. And I'm going to go through with you why those things and what is wrong with my layout still, and what benefits and disadvantages it has. I think that is an interesting discussion. And also, I would like to note that I have been in contact with the developer, who has been quite enjoying these videos and took loads of notes. I gave them the link to the videos before it was actually published, and going through it all and everything. Also had him on a call, and seems like a really nice chap. So yes, very open ears and eyes for your feedback as well. Anyway, what we are going to do is to take a look at one simple UI that is, let me see, let's build this field, and you see these menus here, which are kind of pop-ups, and the core fundamental here in the UI design is let's try to not cover too much of the screen and keep the information per window quite limited so that it is not overwhelming. Also, at the same time, it's designed quite mobilely, but yeah, that's a different discussion, of course, and one which the developer is keenly aware of and wants to switch away from. So that sounds all great. And now, let's just put this one on. The workers again. Okay, so here you have this one. They've added some information to it, what these mean. So this is one comment there as a side note. This is supremely confusing when you're using the same type of chart in a way like this, where you use where it sometimes means something entirely different, but has to do with the same thing. So this chart type, this I don't even know what they're called. This web chart. Maybe that's the name. That is also used for taste, which is why I originally thought that this would be related to taste. It is not, as you can see here. This is just frame, then spreading. How can you even put that on an axis of a chart like this? This seems completely misplaced. Not from a point of view that it's not supposed to be on an axis at all, but why this type of chart for it? I don't think that makes much sense. Leaf type, okay, there's some size to it, shoot size, probably. Origin. An origin can't be on a scale like this. That there's no... I don't know. Is Iceland like the worst in here or something? I don't know. Quality you could put on there. I mean, altitude maybe, but higher up is not necessarily better. And routing, if you just make it good to awful, then yeah, I guess. And yield, yeah, but yield is, yeah, okay, yeah, it's positive, so yeah, you could put it on exit. But you see, it's all over the place. So definitely not a fan of putting this on a chart that looks like the taste chart. But now, let's actually just put down a worker here, and you see all these menus and farm upgrades and all that, and you have to click through it all. And now, not ready to block. Yes, we have to pass time. So there we go, and let's have it grow for a little. And there we have it. And now, this information here, really cool. Yes, very, very nicely thematic and everything. We've talked about it already. There's a lot of information in here that is like, look, this plucking info. Then you have to go in here, and you have to click through a lot of menus to get to what you need to. And that is something that I've observed that just doesn't play well, because this information here, for instance, is quite necessary to make appropriate choices for your plucking and how much rest days you need. And there is no direct way to give the player the feedback he needs. And, well, that is unfortunate, because you have to have a really good memory to keep all this in mind. It is, of course, much more convenient to the player if all that information was, in some sense, presented to him at the same time. Of course, if you just smash it up on the screen with all these windows open, that would fill most of the screen. So the question is, can this be condensed a bit further? Part of the answer is yes. If you get rid of these individual UI windows, one effect that you will be seeing is that you cut away a lot of the doubled up elements. Like these, there's some data that is duplicated in here, but also this button would go away because you don't have to choose plucking methods, and this would go away because you can just have this on the same screen, right? There's no need for these buttons, then there's no need for going back there because it's all on the same screen. So you're cutting away a bit of the chaff. Or do you cut away chaff? No, you don't. Trim the fat, so to say. The disadvantage of potentially doing so is that it becomes a little overwhelming, especially to new players. So one needs to carefully consider what to show and what not to show, and playing the game will reveal to you what you actually need in terms of information on the screen to make it a viable thing to be there. This graph, for instance, very handy in combination with this one. But also you would want to see how much yield is there if I were to pluck right now. What is the quality of the leaves if I select, well, this is not shown at all, by the way. What is the quality of the leaves if I pluck the buds right now? And so on. Like, how much does it grow if I wait 4 days? All that information is not yet shown at all, but I think it needs to be shown. So, I have spent a few hours, to be more exact, about 4 hours. It takes that long. Yes, it's insane. It takes that long. 4 hours making a UI draft, a rough one, for this situation here. We are in here right now, where you want to have this information, T-plant, the plucking methods, this information, these options down here. This, by the way, works. It's just doesn't have a number on it, how many days they're waiting. But also, oh man, how many menus are there? But also this one, soil condition, and this one would be integrated in that too. It should really be part of this graph, or, well, there's space here. But yes, so let's take a look right now at what I have come up with for this situation that we are in right now, when we have this field selected, and you will see it highlighted in my version as well. So let me just move over that window there. Okay, yes, so now I see my draft too. Here it is. So what you really need is, you need to know what is being planted in there. First of all, you can see that, well, it's probably someone who has played automation who has come up with this. Up front, I want to share with you a bit of a weird issue this layout has, and that is that it is combining the display of information with actually interactable UI elements. I don't think that is necessarily a good move, because it gets diluted. It is not clear what parts you're supposed to click on and what not. Although it is simple enough still that I think as soon as you're somewhat comfortable with it, you can click right away and you know what to do here. Because what you see is that you have the the tea plant information, which is just this menu that we had up, that was this weird graph. Not needed. You can just show it as a simple list of characteristics. And players will probably appreciate that more because it's more nicely structured and has better readability. Also, what should be included in there is how large the field is, what altitude the field is at, and the name of that tea plant, which hopefully isn't clone, trim 1, clone, model 3, clone. And the reference to automation right there. Auto-named automation cars. But yes, also you of course want to know something about the soil condition of what you have right there, and that would be I turned this graph around so that it saves some space. You don't really need to know the data of this as long as it is not a problem. So if the organic levels here are very, very low, maybe there should be some kind of little warning triangle next to it or something like this. But also what I would appreciate is if there were tooltips for all of these stats. They could pop up over, like automation does, over the panel that you're currently focusing on with your mouse. And I think that would solve some of those question marks, or get rid of some of those question marks above players' heads. Then let's move over to the tea plant condition. Well, you see that I've condensed this one quite heavily, and that is now a lot clearer to read as well, but also shows more information at it while having trimmed out a few elements that weren't necessary. Just having them as a list of characteristics of how much fill factor there is on the field with the stem, old, fresh, and not applicable. That is quite a bit clearer, but also I'm showing here in this little draft the daily change if you let them grow. What happens if you let them grow? I think that is quite valuable. And also what this should show is that if you have plucking selected, then it should show underneath that plucking ongoing or something like this, and then show you in the parentheses behind the values how much this plucking will affect the total plant or the field as a whole in organic matter of the different types. And then next to it, the little graph, which is pretty cool, over harvestable leaf or yield, and it should show the current yield, which I've added there. Also, the age of the plants is right above, and then what you can do is mark where you are on the graph. I think I mentioned that before, making it quite a bit simpler to see. Still, in general, the same thing. I have added the number of days below as a number, which you can set. No need for a massive slider there, of course, it's all pretty simple. There needs to be a better indication for when the fields actually are waiting. Currently, it just spins the little progression bar and nothing happens, and you think the game is broken, which is not great. There probably should be exactly the same thing, but in the middle of that, of the donut that goes around for the progress, just have the little timer, the icon there that is the same one as in the setting of the restoration. Then right next to this, plucking. You can simply choose this instead of having choose it there instead of having up a massive window, because you've gotten rid of all the leading to that screen and leading away from that screen. So it's much more efficient that way. And again, a simple tooltip would save your ass in terms of space, because you can hover over by hand and you get information about this, a little blurb about what that means. And then next to it, of course, leaf choice, quality, and taste. I want to see all that information. Like when I click first leaf, which is the default option. So let's say if I click second leaf and first leaf is already activated, how does that change the overall quality of the leaves picked? And what is the total yield? That is already being shown in the current UI. But how does it affect taste? Because I can't imagine that it doesn't affect taste whatsoever. there needs to be some effect on taste. Otherwise, this is probably incomplete. Because otherwise, you could grow just any shitty tea plant you want and get the same taste out of it. It's just processing at that point, right? You don't need a tea garden simulator for that. So there needs to be some kind of taste tendency, let's call it that, which is known, and the current quality of those pickings. And I want to see that info displayed in the open so that you can make decisions based on actual stats like that. Alright, I think that shows it quite nicely. I also mentioned to the developer a few thoughts regarding the processing. And of course, I've talked to you about those already, that we just need much more information. And during the call with him, I actually came up with a pretty nice one, which instantly was taken up like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense, let's do that. Which was have an oxidization meter. Because it is so damn hard to know if you are currently at the state of an oolong or a green tea or a black tea. You don't know. No idea of whatsoever. So you can have a simple kind of tachyometer, oxidization meter, a rev meter for oxidization. And it could show the current rate of oxidization in the process, as well as where you are on the scale between white tea and black tea. So that would make tea processing life so much easier and more convenient. But also teach the player about the process. You want to reconnect what you're doing in the game with the outcome that you're producing. Otherwise, it is just a guessing game, and guessing games tend to be frustrating. And we've talked about that already, of course, in episode 3, I believe it was. So yes, I want to see, in the processing as well, how the taste tendencies currently are changing. Rate of change and current status. So that I can see that, oh, I'm running it at this temperature, at this humidity, with this much airflow, and I see, oh, this taste is crawling up quicker. And now the temperature actually increases to the level I wanted, and now something completely different is happening to the taste. That is super good information, which the player then can disentangle and put to the side, like, oh yeah, I did see that thing increase. When the manager starts to ask you to make a certain tea with a certain taste, you can maybe remember, oh yeah, there was this thing I saw when I was at this particular temperature there, like in between things. So let's try that again. And so it becomes an interesting puzzle game, but not a puzzle game. It's more like a chemistry experimental game, which tea making kind of is. So I think overall that would be a lot better. And the developer has already seen my little draft here and was like, yeah, that's great. So we shall see what happens with it. The only problem I have with my draft here is that it is mixing actions with pure information. And sometimes they are mixed in a good way. Like, for instance, you can mix the soil. Let's look just at the soil condition. If you clicked the soil care button, then you don't need to get to a different menu. You could have a little plus there with an info icon or whatever. If you go to the plus button or the minus button, for instance, for the pH value, it could tell you about like the cost and the effect of it, and show it right there in the graph. There is no need for an additional pop-up beyond giving you information. And maybe confirmation, that you need to confirm what you're doing there. But other than that, no need for it. So anyway, I think this is, well, as you can probably tell, I'm quite passionate about these things, but obviously that's also my job. I hope you enjoy this little look into the world of designing UI and how difficult it actually is. This is not easy. It takes so long to make something that feels right. And I'm not saying that my UI draft here feels right, but I think it is a lot closer from a core principle point of view than what we currently see in the game. And with that, I hope you enjoyed, and we shall see more from this game once it is developed a little further. So I hope you enjoyed, and see you guys next time.